Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Talati, Director of Research at Arca. Welcome back to another episode of What's Driving Token Prices. So for those of you who are new here, at Arca, I'm responsible for analyzing and assessing digital asset and blockchain opportunities for Arca's hedge funds. As part of my role, my team and I examine token prices and the market events that move them. So we decided that we were going to share some of those news pieces in this segment today. As a reminder, before we get started, none of this commentary is intended to be investment advice, investment research, or a recommendation. Please consult your investment professional for your own circumstances. Okay, so actually, this has been a pretty interesting week. Some standout moves in a market that has been kind of mostly driven by macro, with the Russia-Ukraine war, the Fed meeting today. So we have some exciting points to go into with you. So first off, we have ThorChain, or RUNE, which is up 40% week over week. So ThorChain, for those of you who don't know, is a decentralized asset exchange protocol built using the Cosmos or Tendermint SDK. ThorChain basically designed themselves as they wanted to create a way for people to transfer assets between blockchains without using like pegged assets or wrapped assets, which is the kind of common occurrence. And as a result, one thing they were really trying to accomplish was actually bridging over Bitcoin, which to date, most people had only used like wrapped versions of Bitcoin to bring it over to other protocols. ThorChain was actually one of last week's best performers. Its price surged after it launched its protocol last week, which had been in development for several years. And now users can trade synthetic assets on their platform. So as I mentioned, what I didn't mention is that the way that people use RUNE is that, or use ThorChain, is that they have to that the assets that are used on RUNE are basically partially backed by RUNE, and nodes also are required to hold RUNE to provide liquidity. So part of the surge in price could also just be an increase in demand as people have gone to use the platform and nodes have spun up and started to, require to hold RUNE. This has actually been a super interesting project. For those that don't know, RUNE was hacked 3 times last year, pretty significantly. Each time the Treasury decided to cover the losses to individuals, which was definitely a good move. But as a result, they've definitely been very, very cautious and performed a number of audits. At the end of the day, what they're trying to accomplish is super complex. They're trying to bridge between many different blockchains that have many different security features and many different coding languages. So this is a pretty impressive feat. So we'll be watching this one to see as it performs and potentially increases volume or takes volume away from other bridges. Okay, so next up, we have Maple Finance. Let's go to that one here. All right, Maple Finance is an on-chain lender for institutional investors. They announced last week that Celsius had become one of their, had onboarded as their first CeFi lender or centralized finance lender. In addition, Anchorage also added custody for the Maple token, or MPL. Week over week, Maple's treasury revenue was up 6.7% and TVL was up 4.5%. Considering kind of the market turbulence, pretty good. All right, so next up we have Mutable X. Those who don't know, Mutable X is a layer 2 scaling solution on Ethereum, and they're focused specifically on scaling for and the gaming and NFT sector. Last week, they announced that they raised a $200 million Series C round at a $2.5 billion valuation, and they had quite an impressive list of investors. So they had Temasek, who led the round, Animoca Brands, Tencent, Parify Capital, Princeville Capital, Arrington Capital, Murray Asset, and Liberty Global. On the news, the token surged 25%. However, it is now down 7% week over week, just to show you what a turbulent week it's been. If you do recall, I actually talked about Mutable X in a previous episode. They actually took a investment and partnership with GameStop a few weeks ago and gave GameStop tokens in return. GameStop actually turned around and market sold most of the tokens that they were given, which really plummeted the price and definitely hurt the optics for the project. Regardless, it seems that IMX is trying to bounce back from this strongly, and hopefully we will have more data on how they're performing in the future. All right, last but not least, we have MATIC or Polygon. So again, I think I've talked about Polygon before, but if you aren't familiar with Polygon, they're also a layer 2 Ethereum scaling solution. They're actually one of the biggest ones. So last week, so they're down 7% on the week. Last week, they experienced an outage that halted production on their sidechain. So that just meant that nothing could happen, no blocks could go through, no transactions could go through. The outage caused a lot of upset people in the community. A lot of the users were not like exactly happy, but to give you an idea of how integral Polygon is now, it's used by over 100 applications over multiple chains, and it secures 3.5 billion in TVL, which, to give you an idea, is the most TVL of any layer 2 scaling solution, and is, I believe, the 4th or 5th most TVL of any chain. So very significant piece of infrastructure on the network went out. Polygon has been criticized frequently for its centralization and lack of security. And I think the 2 days of network downtime has really not helped its case. For those who are wondering, the network did come back online on Monday and seems to be doing okay. We will see if they experience future outages. All right, everyone, that's all I have for you this week. Thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed our insights. Tune in here again next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific to hear what's driving token prices.